Hey everybody, welcome back to my art channel. So this is another art video and a continuation from last week. Last week we had done or had started a new painting. I called it Mountain Part 1, and this week we continue with the conclusion of that into Mountain Part 2. And in the first one you saw me going from beginning to end, from drawing out my guidelines and building up the base and the background and the mountains, and mostly working with the darks. And toward the end of it, we had slowly gotten into the lights, but that's basically where it had been paused. Going into this week now to finish up this piece, it's a lot of back and forth between foreground and background. And as you can see watching through this my paint process, especially when I'm working with fields and grass and a lot of meadow type landscapes, I tend to layer a lot of different greens. And while it might be faster just to layer one green and then add stick to just a couple different shades, I find that the more layers you add, the more depth it gives to the piece itself, and the more realistic it tends to come across. So for me, that means I generally will start with the basic dark shadows on the very bottom, and then I will constantly work back and forth between adding a little light, adding a little dark, adding a little light, adding a little dark, and constantly flipping back and forth between the two until I am satisfied with the way that it looks. And sometimes that only requires a couple of layers, and sometimes it requires several. In this case, I added several layers just to make sure that I got the depth and texture that I was after. In the end, I ended up adding a bunch of the single strand type grass in the foreground and a little bit into the ravine there, going down the center. And watching back on this video, I realize some people may wonder, for those who are familiar with art tools, why I'm not using what they would call a comb brush. And that brush is generally used for doing things like grass and fur and that type of thing. But I have found while that brush is useful, I have found that I still end up going back to my liner brush, and that it just gives me more detail and more control over how the grass is going to come across. It gives me more control over how my lines are going to look, how they're going to flow, how the paint is going to flow, and just general wrist movements as well. So while I do use a comb brush on occasion, I generally prefer using a liner brush, and sometimes it just means that the process takes much longer than maybe it needs to be, but I find that by doing that, the detail comes across way more than if I had done it a different way. So wrapping this up, as I said, we went from beginning to end. So in the very, very end, I decided that I wanted a little bit more light into the piece. I felt that there wasn't quite enough light, so I decided to throw in a little bit of a yellow into the sky, giving the appearance of a sun in the background in amongst the clouds and mountain ranges, and that allowed me to naturally put in a little bit of a yellow glow into the grass and water, and a little bit into the foreground. So I think that that really brought the piece together, and that it really made it a very well done conclusion in the end. So this is the art piece for this week. Next week we'll be getting a brand new piece. I hope you all have enjoyed this immensely, and I hope you all have had a wonderful week, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Easter weekend. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week. Happy Friday.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all really rather enjoyed it, and if you did, I highly encourage you to like, share, and subscribe, and to come back next week for a new one, as I upload new videos weekly. If you would like to see more of my artwork, you will find them on my website, which I have listed down below, and I will link that and all of my social media connections in the description below. Again, I thank you all so much for checking in and seeing what I've been up to and supporting this channel up into this point, and I will see you all again in the next video. Bye.